Welcome to Monk's Temple. Settle in. Let the day's weight begin to dissolve at the edges. Feel the surface you're resting upon. Notice the gentle tide of your breath. In and out. There is nowhere you need to be right now, nothing you need to achieve. This is a space for gentle untangling, for soft reflection. We are about to journey through a series of quiet revelations, drawing from the deep well of Buddhist wisdom. But this is not a lecture. Think of it as a slow walk through a tranquil garden at dusk, where we pause to examine the leaves of our habits, seeing which are still vibrant and which have dried, ready to be released. Our path won't be linear. It will wind and circle back, as understanding often does. We begin not with an addition, but with a quiet release. The first thing we let go of is often the loudest. There is a heat that rises within us. A tightening. A spark that threatens to become a shout. We feel it in our chest, our throat. In a moment of frustration, of perceived injustice, the impulse is to let that heat out, to give it volume and force. We believe, in that instant, that raising our voice will make us heard, will make our pain or our point land with the impact it deserves. But the wisdom of the Buddha offers a different perspective, a caution painted in vivid metaphor. To hold on to anger, he taught, is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Think of your mind as a clear, still pond. A place of inherent peace and reflection. Now, imagine anger as a heavy, jagged stone thrown into its center. The immediate reaction is violent, a disruptive splash, turbulent waves radiating outward, the water churned to mud, obscuring everything. Raising your voice is that initial, dramatic splash. It feels powerful, a release of pressure. But look at the aftermath. The pond is now agitated, murky. You can no longer see the beautiful stones at the bottom, the reflection of the sky is shattered. And the stone? It remains, settled into the mud, a new obstacle. The shout did nothing to remove the source of the anger, it only disturbed the entire ecosystem of your peace and the peace of those around you. I remember a story about a master carpenter and his apprentice. They were crafting a delicate wooden screen, the final piece for a temple. The apprentice, nervous and eager, was hammering a small joint. His hand slipped. The hammer came down at the wrong angle, creating a deep, ugly gouge in the finely sanded wood. The apprentice froze, dread washing over him. The master carpenter, who had been watching, went still. The apprentice braced for the roar, for the angry words about ruined work and wasted time. He had seen other masters explode over far less. But the master simply closed his eyes for a long moment, his breathing deep and audible. He opened them, walked over, and ran his fingers over the gouge. He said, his voice soft, almost a whisper. This is now part of the story. We will not hide it. We will incorporate it. He spent the next hour carefully carving an elegant, flowing vine pattern that began at the gouge and wound its way beautifully across the panel. The flaw became the origin point for the most exquisite part of the design. The master's calm, his refusal to be swept into the splash of anger, transformed ruin into art. He understood that the anger would not fix the wood, it would only break the spirit of his apprentice. His quiet response was not weakness, it was a profound strength that created something new, something resilient. The practice, then, is to become the pond, not the splash. When you feel the heat rise, the stone of anger about to be thrown, create a sacred pause. In that space, breathe. Feel the physical reality of the emotion, the clenched jaw, the tight shoulders, the quickened pulse. Name it silently to yourself, anger is here. This simple act of recognition creates a tiny, crucial distance between you and the emotion. You are not anger, you are the awareness experiencing anger. From this place of awareness, you regain choice. You can choose a response that is firm, clear, and boundary-honoring, but not destructive. You can speak your truth without letting your truth be screamed through a megaphone of fury. This is true power. It protects your inner peace, preserves the dignity of everyone involved, and often, it resolves conflict more effectively than any shout ever could. It allows you to see the gouge in the wood not as a catastrophe, but as the beginning of a new, unplanned design. If this perspective feels like a cool cloth on a fevered brow, a moment of relief in the constant tension of reaction, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. By joining us, you create a gentle reminder in your daily life to return to this stillness, to nurture the pond within. Your subscription is a quiet bell of mindfulness, a shared intention for peace. Let us continue our walk. The air in our garden is still. Having observed the turbulent waters of anger settle, we now turn to a habit that operates like a subtle, persistent draft, chilling us from within. It is not a shout, but a whisper. A whisper that steals the warmth of our own contentment. You are on a unique path, walking a trail that has never been trodden in exactly this way before. The soil beneath your feet, the slant of the light through the trees, the obstacles, and the vistas are yours alone. Yet, how often do we stop in our tracks, peer through the foliage at a parallel path, and measure our progress against the traveler there? We see them at a different marker, crossing a different stream, and a silent calculation begins. They are ahead. I am behind. Their path looks smoother. My pack seems heavier. This is the habit of comparison, and the Buddha identified it as a direct source of our unhappiness. It is the act of abandoning your own rich, complex journey to stand as a critic on the sidelines of someone else's. Imagine you are a unique instrument, let's say, a cello. Your strings are tuned to the resonance of your own life experiences, your body is the wood of your personal history, aged and shaped by specific seasons. Your music is meant to be deep, mournful, joyful, resonant, a sound that only you can make. Now, imagine you spend your days listening to a flute. A beautiful, clear, high-pitched flute. And you think, why is my sound so low and slow? Why can't I make those bright, quick trills? My music is inferior. So you try to tighten your strings to a higher pitch, you try to play faster, you deny the very nature of your cello-ness in a futile attempt to mimic a flute. The result is not flute music, it is a strained, broken, and deeply unsatisfying noise that comes from a cello at war with itself. You have robbed yourself of your own song. I once met a gardener who specialized in heirloom vegetables. She grew strange, lumpy, colorful tomatoes that tasted like sunshine and earth, misshapen carrots with intense flavor, purple beans that turned green when cooked. Her neighbor had a lawn. A perfect, emerald green, weed-free carpet of lawn, edged with military precision. Every morning, the gardener would look from her wild, abundant, messy plot to the serene, monochromatic green next door and feel a pang. His yard is so orderly, so calm. Mine looks chaotic. She began to resent her sprawling pumpkin vines, to see her bolting cilantro as a failure. One day, a severe drought hit. Water restrictions became severe. The neighbor's perfect lawn turned brown and brittle within weeks, a crispy symbol of futility. But the gardener's heirloom plants, with their deep, established root systems evolved for resilience, and her thick layer of mulch, thrived. Her chaotic garden was not just surviving, it was providing food. People came to see it, to marvel at the shapes and colors. She realized then that she had been comparing two completely different things, a living ecosystem and a decorative carpet. One was designed for superficial conformity, the other for deep, nourishing abundance. The moment she stopped comparing, she saw her garden for what it was, a resilient, generous, and uniquely beautiful creation. Comparison forces you to borrow a yardstick that was never meant to measure your life. It makes you a stranger in your own skin, an accountant of other people's visible assets while remaining blind to your own invisible wealth. The practice is to cultivate what I call gentle oblivion to the paths of others. When you feel the glance sideways, the mental measurement beginning, gently guide your gaze back to your own feet. Feel the ground you are standing on. Look at the next step you need to take. Ask, what is wanting to grow in the soil of my life today? Keep a journal not of achievements, but of personal nuances, a moment of patience, a flash of insight, a small act of courage that no one else saw. You are the composer and the musician of your own score. Attend to your own instrument. Tend your own garden. In the unwavering attention to your own path, you will find a confidence that cannot be shaken, because it is not built on being better than, but on being deeply, authentically you. This relentless looking outward is often fueled by a specific kind of modern temptation, a siren song that pulls us from our own shores. We've observed the storm of anger and the thief of comparison. Now, we turn to a quieter, more insidious current that can pull us from our center. It's not a dramatic wave, but a slow, steady undertow, disguised as connection. Your mind is a sanctuary. It is the innermost room, the place where your truest self resides. Imagine this room has a door. For much of human history, that door opened only to the direct experiences of life, the wind on your face, the words of someone in front of you, the task in your hands. Today, that door is propped permanently open, and a cacophony of the world's voices, images, and dramas pours in ceaselessly. We call it staying informed, being connected, or simply passing the time. But in Buddhist terms, this is a profound neglect of right effort. The effort to guard the senses, to be mindful of what we allow to become food for our consciousness. The Buddha taught that what we frequently think upon, we become. What, then, are we becoming when we feed our minds on a relentless stream of fragmented, agitated, and often curated glimpses of other lives? Think of your awareness as a pristine, white canvas. Every piece of content you consume, a frantic news headline, a polished vacation photo, an argument in a comments section, a viral video, is a brushstroke of color slapped onto that canvas. Scrolling mindlessly is like letting a chaotic, unsupervised artist hurl paint at it all day long. By evening, your canvas is a muddy, overwhelming, incoherent mess. No clear picture emerges, only noise and strain. You feel mentally cluttered, anxious, or numb because your inner canvas reflects the chaos you've absorbed. You have allowed the world's turbulence to paint over your own inner landscape. I recall a writer who lived in a small, quiet cabin in the woods. He went there for a month of deep focus on a book. For the first week, he kept his old habit, checking news sites first thing, scrolling social media during breaks. He found himself agitated, his writing scattered, his thoughts preoccupied with global crises and social dramas that were entirely beyond his sphere of influence or need to know. The peace of the forest was outside his window, but it couldn't penetrate the digital storm inside his mind. Frustrated, he made a radical decision. He unplugged his router and put his phone in a locked box for a week. The first 2 days were filled with a jittery withdrawal, a physical itch for stimulation. But by the third day, something shifted. The silence of the woods began to seep in. He noticed the gradations of green in the ferns, the specific pattern of birdsong at dawn, the way the light moved across his desk. His mind, no longer a dumping ground for external data, began to clear. His own thoughts, memories, and creative ideas, previously drowned out, began to surface like bubbles in a still pond. The book began to flow. He wasn't just writing, he was listening, to the forest, and to the quiet voice of his own inspiration that had been silenced by the noise. Mindfulness in the digital age is the practice of becoming the curator of your own canvas. It is pausing before you unlock the screen and asking, what nourishment does my mind truly need right now? It is consciously choosing a few deliberate, meaningful brushstrokes instead of submitting to the paint hurricane. It is creating screen-free sanctuaries, perhaps the first hour of the morning, the space around meals, the hour before sleep. In these sanctuaries, you reclaim your direct experience. You drink your tea and taste only the tea. You talk to your child and see only their face. You walk and feel only the ground. This is not deprivation, it is the richest kind of nourishment. It is the restoration of your inner sanctuary's peace. You learn that connection to yourself is the most vital connection of all, and from that centered place, any digital interaction can be intentional, brief, and kind, rather than a compulsive drain. Often, what we seek in that noisy scroll is a fleeting sense of assurance, a digital nod that speaks to a deeper, more ancient craving. Let us continue our quiet walk. We have seen how the noise of the world and the gaze toward others can pull us from our center. Now, let us turn inward to a more intimate struggle, one that often masquerades as a virtue but can become a cage of our own making. In the heart of Buddhist teaching lies the profound acceptance of anicca. Impermanence, and anatta, the lack of a fixed, perfect self. To cling to an idea of perfection in a world that is inherently fluid, interdependent, and beautifully flawed is to suffer. It is to grasp at a mirage, believing it will quench your thirst. The Buddha's path is not about attaining a state of flawless completion, but about awakening to the wholeness that already exists within the incomplete, the imperfect, the human. Imagine you are a potter at your wheel. Your goal is not to create a mathematically symmetrical vase, identical to a machine-made template. Your goal is to create a vessel that holds. That has character. That bears the gentle, unique fingerprints of its making. Perfectionism is the critic that sits on your shoulder, whispering that the slight warp in the curve is a failure, that the subtle variation in the glaze is a flaw. It convinces you to collapse the clay, again and again, never allowing a piece to be finished, to be declared good enough, to hold water, to hold flowers, to fulfill its purpose. The tragedy is not in the lack of a perfect pot, the tragedy is in the empty shelf where countless beautiful, usable pots could have been. I once knew a musician, a brilliant guitarist, who dreamed of recording an album of his own compositions. He would practice a single piece for months, chasing an elusive ideal in his head, a perfect recording with zero mistakes, with every note ringing with impossible clarity and emotion. He would set up his microphones, press record, and play. If he made even the tiniest flub, a string buzz barely audible to anyone else, he would stop. Delete. Start over. He spent years in this cycle. His friends would ask, "When can we hear your music?" He would always reply, "It's not ready yet. It's not perfect." One day, a mentor came to visit. He listened to this cycle of attempt and deletion for an hour. Finally, he said, "Play me the last take you were about to delete." Reluctantly, the guitarist played it. At the end, there was a quiet space. The mentor said, "I heard a man's heart in that recording. I heard his struggle, his focus, his love for the melody. I also heard a tiny buzz on the G string in the 14th measure. The heart moved me. The buzz told me a human being played it. Which do you think matters more?" That question broke the spell. The guitarist realized he had been worshipping the idol of technical perfection while sacrificing the spirit of the music itself, which was connection, expression, humanity. His first album, when he finally released it, was filled with those imperfect takes. It was praised for its raw, heartfelt authenticity. The prison door swung open not when he achieved perfection, but when he embraced the beautiful, imperfect truth of his own offering. The practice is to shift from the paradigm of perfect versus flawed to the paradigm of alive and complete. A tree is not flawed because its branches are asymmetrical, that is its living response to wind and light. Your work, your actions, your very being are the same. Try this. For 1 week, at the end of each day, write down one thing you did that was good enough. Not perfect. Good enough. I was a good enough parent today. I wrote a good enough email. I made a good enough meal. Feel the relief in that phrase. It contains completion. It contains acceptance. It allows you to cross the finish line and rest, rather than running an endless race toward a moving goalpost you will never reach. This relentless inner critic often speaks in a voice that is not our own, echoing expectations we never consciously chose. Having touched the walls of the prison of perfectionism, we find they are often built with bricks that are not our own, bricks of expectation placed in our hands by the world outside. This leads us to a deep and pervasive source of sorrow. The Buddha's awakening was, in essence, a radical prioritization. He saw the ubiquitous suffering of humanity and dedicated his life to understanding and ending it. Everything else was secondary. In our own lives, we are rarely so focused. We accumulate goals like souvenirs, often picking them up because they look shiny on someone else's shelf, not because they hold meaning for our own journey. We confuse motion with purpose, and busyness with destiny. The Buddha's poignant reminder, "The trouble is you think you have time," is not a threat, but an urgent invitation to discernment. It asks, what is truly essential? What is merely clutter on the path to peace? Picture yourself preparing for a long pilgrimage. You are given one modest-sized pack. You must carry everything you need for the entire journey. Now, look at the goals you are currently hauling through your days. Some are essential, lightweight tools: cultivate patience. Nurture my health. Be fully present with those I love. Others are like heavy, ornate, and cumbersome statues: achieve a title that impresses acquaintances. Maintain a lifestyle that requires constant financial anxiety. Pursue a hobby I don't enjoy because it looks prestigious. Every time you bend to pick up another of these statues, your pack grows heavier, your steps slower, your gaze fixed only on the ground beneath your burdened feet. You missed the sunrise over the mountains, the cool stream by the path, the fellow travelers offering companionship. The pilgrimage becomes a grueling burden, not a journey of discovery. I recall a man named Leo who had mastered the art of goal setting. His life was a cascade of 5-year plans, quarterly objectives, and daily to-do lists. He achieved them all: the degree, the corner office, the luxury car, the house in the right neighborhood. He was, by all external metrics, a success. Yet, he woke every morning with a hollow dread. He described it as living in a beautifully furnished, perfectly silent house where he felt like a ghost. One afternoon, while meticulously planning his next career move, his young daughter came into his office and asked him to build a blanket fort. He almost said, "Not now, I'm working on my goals." But the look on her face, pure, uncomplicated anticipation, pierced through the script. On a whim, he said yes. For 2 hours, they draped blankets over chairs, fastened them with clothespins, arranged pillows inside, and read stories by flashlight. In that cramped, silly, magical space, Leo felt a joy so vivid it was almost painful. It was utterly unplanned, had no metric for success, and was absent from every goal list he'd ever written. In that moment, he realized his pack was filled with statues, and he had been too burdened to get on the floor and build a fort. He began the quiet, courageous work of unpacking. He didn't quit his job, but he redefined success. His goals became simpler, softer: listen fully. Create moments of joy. Be here. The unbearable weight lifted, and for the first time, he felt he could breathe on his own pilgrimage. The practice is the goal audit. Sit in stillness. List your current driving ambitions. Beside each, ask with gentle ruthlessness, why? Who is this truly for? Does this align with my deepest values of peace, compassion, and authentic connection, or is it a should inherited from family, culture, or fear? You may find goals you can, with great relief, set down by the side of the path. This is not quitting. It is making space. Space to notice what you already have. Space to respond to the present moment. Space for the unplanned blanket fort. When you carry only what is essential, your walk becomes lighter, your eyes can lift to the horizon, and you discover that the journey itself, the ordinary, mindful steps, is the destination you were actually seeking. Often, the energy for these unnecessary goals is fed by a hope that their achievement will finally give us a sense of worth from the outside world. As we set down burdens that are not ours to carry, we encounter a more fundamental longing, a longing not for a specific achievement, but for a feeling of worthiness that we believe achievement can bring. This longing turns our gaze outward, seeking a reflection of ourselves in the eyes of others. Buddhist wisdom points relentlessly inward. The ultimate refuge, the ultimate authority, is not found in the applause or approval of the world, but in the quiet, unwavering ground of your own awareness. The Buddha's radical declaration, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection," is an instruction manual for where to look. When we incessantly seek external validation, we are like someone standing in a hall of mirrors at a carnival, turning frantically from one distorted reflection to another, trying to find one that shows us as tall, or handsome, or worthy enough. We forget that we are the source of the light being reflected. Our worth is not contingent on the shape of the mirror. Imagine yourself as a deep, clear well. Your value is the pure water at your source, always present, always replenishing. External validation is like people coming to draw water from your well. Some may praise the water's taste, some may come with buckets, some may ignore it. If you derive your entire sense of being a good well from the frequency and enthusiasm of the drawers, your peace is at the mercy of traffic and opinion. On a day when no one comes, you may feel empty and worthless, even though your depths are full. Your wholeness is not defined by the act of being drawn from. It is inherent in your nature to hold water. I remember a teacher named Clara who taught art to children. She was passionate and creative, and her students made wonderful, messy, joyful art. But the school's administration valued neatness, standardized test scores, and quiet hallways. Clara's classroom was often delightfully noisy, filled with color and experimentation. At her annual review, her principal gave her middling marks, citing lack of disciplined structure and questionable alignment with curriculum standards. Clara was devastated. For weeks, she tried to contort her teaching into a quieter, more controlled format. The children became subdued. The art became stiff and repetitive. The life had gone out of the room. One afternoon, a former student, now in high school, visited. She handed Clara a small, carefully wrapped package. It was a painted tile. "I just wanted to thank you," the student said. "Your class was the only place I ever felt like it was okay to make a mess, to try something weird. It made me believe I could be creative. I'm going to art school now." Clara held the tile, her eyes filling with tears. In that moment, she saw the two mirrors: one, the official evaluation, reflecting a narrow, administrative ideal. The other, this tile and this young woman's future, reflecting the true impact of her work. Which was to nurture courage and creative spirit. She realized she had to choose which reflection to believe. She gently placed the principal's evaluation in a drawer and put the tile on her desk, where she could see it every day. She returned to her vibrant, messy teaching, now anchored not in the need for institutional validation, but in the inner validation of knowing her true purpose, to be a well of creative permission for her students. The practice is to become your own primary source. This does not mean becoming arrogant or dismissing feedback. It means calibrating your inner compass first. Before seeking an opinion, ask yourself, what do I truly feel about this? What is my inner knowing saying? Cultivate moments that are purely for you, with no possibility of external reward: a walk you don't post about, a poem you write and don't share, a meal you cook just for the sensory pleasure. In these acts, you are drawing water from your own well for your own sustenance. You are reaffirming that your existence itself is worthy of your own care and attention. When praise comes, let it be like a pleasant breeze, appreciated but not your sole source of oxygen. When criticism comes, let it be examined against your own inner truth, accepted if it aligns, released if it does not, without letting it poison your source. You are the well. Your worth is not up for a vote. This need to have our truth validated by others becomes most painfully acute when we have been wounded, and we turn to the very source of the wound for healing. We have learned to draw water from our own well. Yet, there are times when a deep thirst compels us to seek acknowledgement from a specific source, a source that may have been the very cause of our drought. This is one of the most tender and challenging places on the path. When someone wounds us through betrayal, neglect, or harsh words, an instinct arises, visceral and powerful, the need to make them see. To meticulously map the landscape of our pain and present it to them, saying, "Here. Look at what you did. Do you understand now?" We operate under a profound illusion, that if they could only comprehend the depth of the hurt, they would offer the validation, the apology, or the change that would somehow magically suture the wound. Buddhism teaches us about the second arrow. The first arrow is the initial hurt, the painful event. It lands, and it is sharp. The second arrow is all that follows in our own mind, the rage, the rumination, the relentless need for vindication. As the Buddha said, you will not be punished for your anger, you will be punished by your anger. The act of endlessly explaining your pain to someone who has already demonstrated a capacity to inflict it is often the act of fashioning and firing that second arrow, over and over, into your own heart. Imagine you have a precious, delicate vase, an heirloom representing your trust and peace. Someone handles it carelessly and it falls, cracking. Now, you have a choice. You can take the cracked vase to a skilled, compassionate restorer. A therapist, a trusted friend, your own loving awareness, who will carefully mend it with gold, making it a new piece of art with a history, the practice of kintsugi. Or, you can take the cracked vase back to the person who dropped it, hold it out, and demand, "Do you see this crack? Do you see what you did? You fix it." The problem is, they may not have the skills, the willingness, or even the eyes to see the damage as you do. In their hands, the vase might be dropped again, or dismissed, leaving you with more shards and a deeper, more devastating sense of violation. I knew a man named Daniel who carried a childhood of subtle emotional neglect. His father was a kind but distant man, more comfortable with tasks than feelings. As an adult, Daniel spent years in therapy, building his self-worth. He decided he needed closure. He wrote a long, heartfelt letter to his father, detailing specific memories of loneliness, expressing his pain with eloquent vulnerability. He sent it, imagining a breakthrough, a tearful reconciliation. His father's reply was a short, kind, but utterly bewildered email, "Son, I'm sorry you feel that way. I always tried to provide. Let's put the past behind us." For Daniel, this was not closure, it was a new, more profound wound. The second arrow. He had handed his fragile, mending vase back to the person whose hands were not shaped for that kind of repair. His healing did not come from his father's understanding, it came later, when he realized he had been seeking water from a well that was, and always had been, dry. His true work was to stop standing at that empty well, and to turn, with great compassion, to tend his own garden. The practice here is one of fierce self-protection and ultimate self-reliance. It is being exquisitely selective with whom you share your most tender, unhealed places. Your healing is your sacred responsibility. You fulfill the need to be understood by becoming your own most compassionate witness. Write the letter you need to write, and do not send it. Speak your truth out loud to the silent trees, to your journal, to a professional listener. Validate your own pain. Say to yourself, "That hurt. My feelings are real and valid. I did not deserve that." This act of self-validation is profoundly empowering. It drains the charge from the need to get it from the other person. You are no longer a plaintiff waiting for a verdict from a broken court. You become the judge who declares, with kindness and finality, this injury is acknowledged. Now, The work of healing belongs to me. You pick up the pieces of your own vase and begin, with golden glue of self-compassion, to mend it yourself. The result may not be the pristine vase of before, but something stronger, more beautiful, and uniquely yours, a testament not to the break, but to your capacity to heal. This powerful inward turn also asks us to reconsider how we handle the endings of connections, the closing of shared chapters. As we learn to heal our own wounds with the gold of self-compassion, we face another test of our inner peace, how we speak of the relationships that have ended. The close of a shared chapter, whether by drift or decision, leaves a raw and tender space. In that space, there is a powerful temptation to narrate the story of its ending, often casting ourselves as the misunderstood hero or the wounded victim. Buddha's guidance on right speech is a lantern in this particular darkness. He advised speaking only that which is true, helpful, kind, and timely. When a relationship ends, our pain can make our speech feel true to our hurt, but rarely is it helpful, kind, or timely to dissect the private intricacies of a bond that has dissolved. To do so is to perform a public autopsy on something that was once alive with shared intimacy. An autopsy is a clinical procedure for determining cause of death. It is not an act of respect for the life that was lived. It objectifies, it assigns blame, and it freezes a complex, fluid history into a rigid story of fault. Imagine a shared garden that two people tended for years. They planted seeds together, weathered storms, and enjoyed harvests. Over time, their visions for the garden diverged, or perhaps one stopped watering, or a blight came that they couldn't cure together. They decide to put a fence down the middle. Now, one gardener could spend their days at that fence, shouting to every passerby about the other's poor pruning, their acidic soil, the invasive weeds they allowed to take root. This shouting does not heal the gardener's own plot. It does not improve the soil or bring back lost blooms. It only poisons the air, frightens away helpful birds and bees, and ensures the gardener's entire identity becomes the one who was wronged by the other gardener. Meanwhile, their own side of the fence withers from neglect, from the constant expenditure of energy on accusation rather than cultivation. I recall a story of two sisters who owned a small, beloved cafe together. They were inseparable, their partnership the heart of the business. But tensions grew over expansion plans, financial stress, and differing work styles. The partnership ended in a painful legal dissolution. For months afterward, the older sister would bring up the split at every family gathering, in conversations with mutual friends, even with regular customers who asked. She would detail every perceived slight, every financial misstep, every broken promise. It was a story she told with the passion of fresh betrayal each time. The younger sister, equally hurt, chose silence. She grieved privately, took a job at another cafe, and focused on her own healing. Years later, the older sister realized she was trapped. Her social circles had subtly shifted to those who would indulge her story. Her identity was cemented as the sister who was betrayed. Her hurt had become her personality. The younger sister, having processed her grief without turning it into a public performance, had moved on. She had new dreams, a new sense of self not defined by the rupture. The first sister's public autopsy had not sped her healing. It had embalmed her pain, preserving it under the glass of constant retelling. The practice is one of dignified silence and private grief. This is not dishonesty or suppression. It is the conscious choice to process the complex chemistry of a relationship's end in the private laboratory of your own heart, not on the public stage. You can say, "We've gone our separate paths," or, "It was a difficult time, and I wish them well." You do not owe anyone the gory details. By refusing the public autopsy, you achieve several things. First, you prevent your pain from metastasizing into gossip and drama in your community. Second, you conserve the immense emotional energy spent on retelling for the actual work of healing. Third, you honor the privacy and dignity of what was once a shared bond. And fourth, you create a clean, quiet space where you can eventually remember the relationship with nuance. Seeing not just the ending, but also the love, laughter, and learning that existed before the final chapter. You allow the entire story to compost in the dark soil of your heart, where it can eventually transform into wisdom, not bitterness. This conscious restraint with our speech extends beyond the ends of relationships into the daily currency of our conversations, where we often trade in something far more corrosive. Our journey now brings us to a habit so commonplace, so woven into the fabric of daily chatter, that we often mistake it for social bonding. It is the shadow side of speech, a toxin we drink while thinking it quenches our thirst for connection. The Buddhist teaching on right speech is a profound ethical and practical instruction. He urged, "Do not speak unless it improves on silence." Consider the weight of that. Speech should improve on the quality of quiet. Gossip rarely, if ever, meets this standard. It is the act of discussing the personal affairs, shortcomings, or missteps of others who are not present to contribute, clarify, or defend themselves. We often dress it in the robes of concern, "I'm just worried about them," but beneath that fabric, if we are ruthlessly honest, we can often feel a subtle, energizing thrill, a momentary sense of superiority or insider status. In that moment, we are using another person's story as social currency, trading their dignity for a fleeting sense of belonging or distraction from our own unease. Imagine your words as seeds. Every sentence you utter plants something in the field of your relationships and your own mind. Gossip plants seeds of doubt, suspicion, and judgment. You might think you are just tossing these seeds casually onto the ground between you and a friend, but seeds take root. They grow into thorny vines of mistrust that can eventually entangle the entire community. You are not just talking about someone, you are training your own mind, and inviting your listener's mind, to see the world through a lens of fault-finding and scandal. You become a curator of flaws, and the gallery of your perception becomes a grim portrait hall of other people's failings. There is a parable about a village where a wise elder was known for his unwavering integrity. A young man, seeking to test him, came to the village square holding a small, live bird hidden in his hands. His plan was to ask the elder, "Is the bird in my hands alive or dead?" If the elder said, "Alive," he would crush it. If the elder said, "Dead," he would open his hands and let it fly. It was a trap. He approached the elder and posed his question. The elder looked at him, then at the curious crowd, and said calmly, "The answer, my friend, is in your hands." Gossip is like that. The life, the dignity, the reputation of another is held in your hands when you speak of them in their absence. You hold the power to crush or to release. The wise response is always to remember that the answer, the truth, the impact, the consequence, is in your hands. Choose words that give life, not that snuff it out. I remember working in an office years ago where a small group would gather by the coffee machine, and the conversation would inevitably turn to dissecting a colleague's strange habits, a manager's divorce, a client's rumored financial troubles. It created a sticky, toxic atmosphere of us versus them, of whispered alliances. One day, a new employee joined these circles. After a few minutes of listening, she simply smiled and said, "You know, I try not to talk about people when they're not here. It never makes me feel good afterward." Then she gently changed the subject to a book she was reading. Her comment was not judgmental, but it was clear as a bell. An awkward silence fell, followed by a palpable shift. The gossip ring dissolved after that. Her quiet refusal to participate, her simple statement of her own inner standard, erected a boundary more powerful than any argument. She chose to plant seeds of something else, respect, perhaps, or simply a different topic. She improved on the silence. The practice is to cultivate a mindful pause before you speak about a third party. In that pause, ask yourself 3 questions, gates through which your words should pass. 1. Is it true? Not, did I hear it, but do I know it to be an indisputable fact? 2. Is it necessary? Does saying this serve a genuine, helpful purpose, or is it merely filler, entertainment, or social maneuvering? 3. Is it kind? Would I say this if the person were standing beside me? Does it contribute to their well-being or to a more compassionate atmosphere? If the words cannot pass these 3 gates, let them dissolve. Your silence then becomes a positive force, a space of respect, a sanctuary for others' dignity, and a fertile ground for your own integrity to grow. You will find that conversations become more substantive, connections more authentic, and your own mind becomes a cleaner, lighter place, free from the clutter of other people's unverified business. This refinement of our speech is intimately connected to the expectations we carry, not just of others, but of life itself, expectations that can become rigid scripts we demand reality to follow. We have learned to guard our speech and to choose silence when it improves upon noise. Now, we turn inward to examine the silent scripts we write for our own lives, scripts that often set us up for a special kind of suffering when the world refuses to follow our carefully penned directions. At the core of Buddhist understanding is the truth of dukkha, often translated as suffering, but more accurately, the pervasive sense of unease that arises when reality clashes with our desires. Much of this clash comes from attachment. And one of its most potent forms is our attachment to how we believe things should be. We craft detailed, invisible blueprints for our careers, our relationships, our health, and even our daily moods. We become attached to these blueprints, emotionally invested in this specific, preferred future. Then, when life, in its wild, unpredictable, and perfectly natural way, deviates from our plans, we suffer. We feel betrayed, frustrated, and disappointed, not because something is inherently wrong, but because we are holding a map of a fantasy land and getting angry that the real terrain doesn't match it. Imagine you are a sailor. You plot a course for a serene, sun-drenched tropical island. You have dreams of white sand and gentle palms. You set sail, clinging fiercely to that specific map. But the ocean has its own nature. A storm blows you off course. The winds change. You find yourself approaching a different shore, rocky, dramatic, mist-shrouded, and wildly beautiful in a way you never imagined. If you spend the entire journey raging against the wind, clutching your now useless map and mourning the lost tropical beach, you will be miserable. You will miss the awe of the seabirds circling the cliffs, the mystery of the fog, the profound lesson in seamanship the storm taught you. Your suffering is not in the new destination, but in your stubborn attachment to the old map. A woman named Anya had a clear vision for her life: graduate at the top of her class, secure a prestigious internship by 22, be a department head by 30, marry her college sweetheart, and have 2 children. It was a flawless blueprint. By 28, she had the prestigious job, but it was draining her soul. The relationship had ended amicably but painfully. She was not a department head, and children felt like a distant dream. She described feeling like a failure, walking through a life that was a hollow mockery of the beautiful house she had designed. Her anxiety was constant. During a forced medical leave for burnout, she volunteered at a community garden, simply to get out of her apartment. There, she met people whose life stories bore no resemblance to any blueprint. An ex-mechanic who knew everything about soil, a retired teacher who wrote haiku about vegetables, a teenager teaching his grandmother to compost. Their lives weren't linear or prestigious, but they were alive with curiosity and connection. One day, while harvesting kale in the rain, she laughed at the sheer muddiness of it all. In that moment, she let go. She didn't abandon her ambitions, but she released her death grip on the specific blueprint. She allowed her life to be an exploration, not a strict construction project. She later took a different job with less prestige but more purpose, started writing, and found a partner in a way she never would have imagined. Her life became interesting, authentic, and hers, not a failed replica of a generic plan. The practice is to replace rigid expectation with fluid intention. Set your intention: I intend to live with compassion. I intend to do meaningful work. I intend to be healthy. But hold that intention in an open palm. When life presents a storm or an unexpected coastline, you don't discard your intention. You adapt it. Given this storm, how can I practice compassion for myself and others? Given this rocky shore, what meaningful work can be done here? How can I care for my health in these new circumstances? This is the art of sailing with the ocean, not against it. It is engaging with reality as it is, not as you demand it to be. You trade the suffering of disappointment for the adventure of responsiveness. You discover that the unplanned, off-course moments often contain the very lessons, strengths, and beauties you were seeking all along. This flexibility of spirit allows us to approach our final, foundational lesson, not a thing to eliminate, but a practice to cultivate, the ground from which all this letting go becomes possible. We have released much. Anger, comparison, the noisy scroll, perfectionism, unnecessary goals, the need for external validation, fruitless explanations, public autopsies, gossip, and rigid expectations. Now we arrive not at an ending, but at a beginning. The fertile, quiet ground that makes all this release not only possible, but natural. This is the core from which Buddhist wisdom grows. All the suffering we've explored lives in one of 2 places, the past or the future. Regret, resentment, and old wounds are ghosts from the past. Anxiety, craving, and unrealistic expectations are phantoms of the future. Peace is not a time zone. It is a quality of attention. It exists only in one place, the present moment. This is the essence of mindfulness, or sati in the Buddha's teachings. It is the practice of waking up from the stories of yesterday and tomorrow, and landing, fully, in the reality of now. The present moment is the only place where life is actually happening. It is the only place where you can taste the tea, feel the hug, hear the sincere word, or choose a kind response. Imagine your conscious awareness as a luminous sphere of light. When you are lost in thought about the past or future, that light is projected onto a screen in your mind, illuminating old movies or fantasy trailers. The actual room you are sitting in. The feel of the air, the sound of the radiator, the quality of the light in the window, remains in darkness. Mindfulness is the gentle effort to recall that light from the screen and let it shine here, in the actual room of your present experience. It is not about quieting the mind, but about noticing where its light is pointed. The breath is the most faithful anchor for this light, because it is always happening now. You cannot breathe in the past. You cannot breathe in the future. You can only breathe in this eternal, unfolding present. I knew a master woodworker famous for his exquisite, seamless joinery. Students would ask him the secret to his perfect fits. He would say, "I am only ever planning one cut. The cut I am making right now." He explained that if he was cutting a dovetail joint and his mind wandered to the next cut, or the cut after that, or the piece he messed up yesterday, his hand would waver. The chisel would slip. The perfection was in the total marriage of his attention to the single movement of the tool through the wood in this instant. The shaving curling up from the blade, the sound of the mallet strike, the grain revealing itself, that was his entire world. The rest of the joint, the entire piece of furniture, was built from a succession of these utterly present, perfect moments. His craft was a meditation. His life was his craft. The practice is deceptively simple and endlessly profound. It is the gentle, relentless return. You are not failing when your mind wanders to a worry or a memory. You are being human. The practice is in the noticing, my light is on the screen of worry. And then, without judgment, you guide it back. You feel the soles of your feet on the floor. You notice the next inhalation. You hear the distant hum of the refrigerator. You are back. You do this not once, but 10,000 times. This is the training. Start with the small gates of daily ritual. When you wash your hands, feel the water. When you open a door, feel the knob. When you take the first bite of a meal, truly taste it. For 1 minute, 3 times today, just stop. Breathe, and ask, what is happening in and around me, right now? No need to change anything. Just notice. This simple act begins to rewire your relationship with time itself. You start to find that within the present moment, no matter how ordinary, there is a startling aliveness, a richness that was always there but obscured by mental commentary. Even pain, met with full present moment awareness, transforms. It becomes a constellation of sensations, tightness, heat, throbbing, that rise and fall, rather than a solid, endless story called, my suffering. This present moment awareness is the golden thread that ties all our previous lessons together. It is the space where you see the anger rising and choose not to shout. It is the clarity that lets you see comparison as a useless fantasy. It is the anchor that pulls you from the scroll into the room. It is the perspective that shows perfectionism as a story about a future object. It allows you to feel the hollow ache of an unnecessary goal. It is the inner source that makes external validation irrelevant. It gives you the strength to validate your own pain without explanation. It provides the dignity for silent, private grief. It creates the pause before gossip. And it dissolves unrealistic expectations by bringing you into direct contact with things as they actually are. From this ground of presence, we can add one final, gentle piece of wisdom, a way of being with others that arises naturally when we are fully here. Let us complete our walk. We have arrived at a place of quiet presence. From this ground, something blooms naturally, without effort. It is the final, and perhaps most beautiful, quiet elimination, the removal of the barrier between our own peace and the peace of others. This is not a separate lesson, but the fragrance of all the lessons combined. Buddhist philosophy rests on the principle of pratyaya samutpada, interdependent origination. Nothing exists in isolation. Your peace is not a private island. It is interconnected with the peace of the person next to you, the stranger across town, the living system of the earth. The habits we've released were often walls we built, thinking they would protect our inner sanctuary. But walls also cut us off from light, air, and the truth of our belonging. The ultimate quiet elimination is the subtle, often unconscious belief that we are separate, that our well-being is a solo project. When we operate from that belief, even our pursuit of peace can become anxious, selfish, or brittle. True, unshakable peace is relational. It understands that your liberation is tied up with mine. Imagine two candles in a dark room. One candle, fearing it will run out of wax, builds a small wall around itself. Its light is now dim, confined to its little circle. The air around it grows stale. The other candle burns openly. A draft comes. Its flame wavers, flickers, but it also draws fresh oxygen and burns brighter. Now, imagine the open candle leans toward the walled one. Its flame does not diminish. Instead, the heat of its flame softens the wax of the wall. The wall melts. The light of the first candle joins the light of the second. The room is not just twice as bright, the shadows are fundamentally altered. The light intermingles, creating a single, larger sphere of illumination that was impossible for either candle alone. Your inner work is not about building higher walls. It is about burning openly, and having the courage to lean, gently, toward other flames. I remember a late-night bus ride through the city years ago. It was cold, and the bus was mostly empty. A man boarded, his clothes ragged, his energy one of profound despair. He sat a few rows ahead, head in his hands, his shoulders shaking silently. The usual human reaction flitted through the bus, averted gazes, the subtle stiffening of postures, the unspoken collective wish for him to be invisible. My own mind offered its walls, I'm tired. It's not my problem. What could I even do? But that night, perhaps because I was weary of my own walls, a different impulse arose. It wasn't grand. I had no solution to offer. I simply walked over and sat in a seat across the aisle from him. I didn't look at him. I didn't speak. I just sat there, present, breathing, allowing his profound sorrow to exist without me needing to fix it or flee from it. After a few minutes, his shaking subsided. He took a long, ragged breath. Another few stops passed in silence. When he rose to get off, he paused, looked at me, and gave the faintest nod. It wasn't gratitude, exactly. It was acknowledgement. A crack in the isolation. In that moment, I felt no burden. I felt a strange, expansive lightness. My small, open presence had not solved his life, but it had refused to add to the world's indifference. It had met suffering with simple, fearless attention. That was the connection. My peace was not disturbed by his pain. It became the space that could hold his pain without being shattered by it. The wall was gone. The practice that flows from all we've done is this: to see your mindfulness not as a tool for personal bliss kept in a vault, but as a capacity for fearless, open-hearted attendance to life as it is. It means listening to a friend not to reply, but to understand. It means seeing the irritable cashier not as an obstacle to your peace, but as a fellow human having a painful moment, and softening your smile just a little. It means picking up a piece of litter not because you dropped it, but because you are part of the street. This is karuna, compassion in action. It is not an extra task. It is what naturally flows from a heart that is no longer clogged with its own defensive clutter. When you are not constantly comparing, you can celebrate others. When you are not seeking validation, you can offer genuine praise. When you are not lost in gossip, you can offer respectful silence or a kind word. Your presence becomes a gift, a calm spot in the chaos, not because you are special, but because you are clear. So, as we conclude our time together in this garden of reflection, remember this integration. The journey of letting go is not a retreat from the world. It is a preparation for a more authentic, compassionate, and resilient engagement with the world. You are clearing the internal brush so you can see the other campfires in the night, and so your own fire can burn cleanly for anyone who needs its warmth. You have done the profound work of listening. Now, carry this quietude with you, not as a shield, but as an open hand. This concludes our journey through these 11 quiet eliminations and the one essential cultivation. Thank you for walking this path with Monk's Temple. May the peace you have nurtured here ripple outward, through your life and into the world. Be well.